I got a call on Friday for a 4050 that the guy parked it in his shop, and then it was running, everything was fine. Went to start it again, and just went clunk. Couldn't turn the motor over, so he tried boosting it, all this stuff wouldn't turn over. So another mechanic buddy of mine, he's very close, he went there and found out, yeah, the engine is seized, don't turn. But he did find that it would turn backwards a quarter turn, and then it would turn forwards a quarter turn, but that's all you get. So he pulled out the injectors and pulled the valve cover. Cylinders are not hydrolocked, they're all dry, and the valves all move, so that's not the problem. So I went out there this morning, threw my turning tool in there, and found that if I forced it a little bit, I could turn it backwards. And then it made some pretty nasty noises in the front of the transmission. So now I'm on my way back to the shop for my splitting stands. I'm going to have to split this thing. Something in the C1, C2 clutches are jammed up. Not exactly sure what's the deal with that, but that's pretty good. I don't really have time for this. I was hoping to avoid having to split that tractor. I was hoping it would be something simple somehow, but couldn't think of anything, and at the end of the day, we gotta do what we gotta do. You guys gotta feed his cows. On the road again. Alright, back at it here. I see the boss has got the joystick valve off of there and the battery box. That's good. And this side too. Perfect. So we got to drop the oil, throw the splitting stands underneath, and split this thing. When we're looking, let me get some light here. We're looking right inside there. It's a little tough with the foam, but I can see the clutches, and you can see them jarring back and forth when it makes its clunking chunk noise when I force it backwards. So that is where our issue is. Okay, we're getting there. In order to split these power shifts, there are two lube lines here that have to come out. And when I pulled those out, the pipes that go into the lube manifold inside were missing. They're gone. So what happened there? Now on this side, I got the charge pump off because it also has to come off to get this apart. And you can see right there, there's actually two lines in there. I don't know how well that's visible. One behind the other in there. But anyways, those are the pipes that are supposed to go through the other side. So somehow those have come out and wrapped themselves in there and kinked up and gotten them stuck. So we know what the problem is. Now we need to get it apart and find out why that happened. Alright, so what actually happened here is the bolts on the C1, C2 clutch drum are coming out. Like so. And they pulled around and they grabbed the lube tubes that go through there. And we found that laying in the bottom now. And then these bolts are all loose. And this one clutch disc in here has got a bit of damage all the way around. So we're going to have to pull this apart and check those out. But otherwise, for some reason, the bolts are backing out. And that is the cause of the problem. Those lube lines go right into here. This guy sits like that, and those tubes go straight through, and that's your clutch pressure that engages your C1, C2 clutches. I think I left off yesterday talking about how the bolts in this clutch hub were backing out. Once I got this apart, I realized that was not the case. They actually were broke off. So I had a bunch of these little nubs like that I had to extract out of the flywheel. And I couldn't really find any reason why they would be broken. There was one bolt that was still holding this together. So the only thing I could find wrong is this clutch in the front. There's no traction left, it's totally wore off. And then you can see how this guy's been jamming around. This is all wore. Oh, it's hard to do this with one hand. And then the next one is all wore out of there. But look at how deep we've grooved into this. This should be all flatly machined like this, but that's going to have to get fixed. I'm going to send this into the machine shop this morning for them to fix that. But before I send it, we got to get the piston out. In order to get the piston out, we got to throw this in the press and press the Belleville washers down and get this big snap ring off of there. And then those Belleville washers will come off, and then the piston can come out. And then I'll clean this all up so it's not so oily, and it'll get dropped off for machining. Using the magic of cameras, I'll just take this off right now. Ooh, that one's stuck in there. Oh, I'm an idiot. There we go. There. Clean that up, and then we'll get it to the machine shop. Hey, look at this. We got parts. Let's put her together. Oh, I'm struggling with this one again. Still working on the 4050. Got all my parts in. This is the C1 clutch, the low, and I put new piston seals on, went into the press, pressed it all together, and I always pressure check these before I continue on my work. Well, it doesn't seal. Man, am I glad I pressure checked it. So the way this works is oil comes in that port that I have capped off and in this port, and it's through drilled passages underneath there, and it should lift that piston up when you give it pressure. But I got 160 psi of shop air pressure here on a 3/8 hose, makes pretty decent flow. And when I give this pressure through here, I can't even pop the piston out, it leaks so much. Insane. So that is leaking around the outer seal. If I spray some soap water around there and give it pressure again. So at first I had greased this when I put it in, and I thought, well, maybe my grease wasn't allowing the seal to move enough or whatever. I've had this together and apart, I think 5 times now. There's Belleville washers in here, you have to press it all. Anyway, so let me show you what's going on here. Alright, so you can see the piston moves nice and free. But look at this. Hopefully I can get a good enough view, but that piston seal does not actually come to the outside of the piston. It is actually recessed in the groove. Well, if that piston seal does not come to the end of the piston, like there's a big dip here, all the way around, it's like the seal's too small. If it doesn't come to the end of the piston, there's no way that thing can seal. So you go in the parts book, and the C1, C2 clutches use the same outer ring, so I had 2 of those seals. I put the other new seal in, and it still doesn't seal, and then I put the old seal in, and the old seal doesn't seal either. They all measure exactly the same. Well, that's interesting. So obviously this has been leaking for a long time. And the C1 clutch is exactly this one, where the discs are all gone and it's all been heated and the tabs are all wore off. So this has been slipping and leaking for quite a while. So if I measure the depth of that relief, I get 0.483. And if I measure how wide this seal is, I get 0.42. So it just sits way too deep inside there. That's a long ways off. That's too much. There's no way that thing can seal when it's down inside this guy. So that's a problem. Now this piston is a 71845, and according to the book, number 9, 78145, it subs up to a new number. And so I think we're gonna need to get the new number. I think the new piston probably has a smaller relief in it for that seal. Alright, well there it is. I called down south, and the seal relief on the updated piston is, well, there's a difference. It's not as much as I thought it would be. It's only 200 thou. It's 200 thou shallower than what this one is. I think that's probably all they updated when they changed part numbers. It's gonna help, right? I don't know. We won't know until we get it in there for sure, but it has to work. I don't see any other way. But I'm sure that that's why they updated it, is probably because this one just leaks too much. Well, that's why it's so important to always double check your work. Don't trust anything. Some guys seem to rip these things apart, whack a bunch of new parts on, whack it back together and kick it out the door, and it's just done right now, lickety split, and everything works just great. And then I get these ones. So that's that. Now I'm going to pull the C2 apart and get the pistons and everything changed in that one and make sure I don't have any trouble with that. Oh boy. So here I have the C2 clutch now, and I'm going to pressure test this one before I take it apart so that I know what's going on. I should have did that on the other one, but I didn't. Anyway, let's see what this one does. So this one has the manifold on the bottom here that has to be in order to put my pressure through. This is the one that does the C2 clutch. So I'm going to be feeding air pressure into here. I have to hold this dowel from flying out the backside while I do that. And if this thing is working right, we should be able to see that piston pop up and down. So let's see what we get here. Oh, I think I got it jammed. So I give it pressure and you can see it comes up. That's how it squeezes those clutch packs together. And then those Belleville washers right here, they push it back down to return it. So it's actually, this one's sealing pretty good. Now we know. Now if it doesn't seal that good when I put it back together, I know I did something wrong. Pressed apart the springs and took the Belleville stuff off of there. Put my new seals in. I'll drop this manifold back on. That. And we'll retest for pressure. Make sure that this one still works and it doesn't leak. Here we go. I think we're good. Next step here is to change the O-rings inside these ports and also these sealing rings. There's nothing wrong with these sealing rings. I was using these old rings when I was pressure testing that C2 clutch and they were sealing okay, but they do have hours on them, so just because it's apart right now, we're going to put new ones on so that it can start wearing out some new ones. So 2 of these I broke the tabs off of them without putting hardly any pressure at all. These little tabs right in there. But you can see the shiny part here where it's wore, and you can't feel it on the camera, but it's very sharp here. This edge is very sharp. So these guys are just wore out. They looked fine until you take them off and you can see the side wear there. So getting new ones, putting new ones on. These rings have some expansion to them, like a piston ring, but they have these little notches in here where they actually hook together, and that's what completes your ring to make an oil seal. It's kind of neat. That's done. Now I can pull these plugs out and we'll put new O-rings inside. These O-rings are hard. More crunchy than they should be. It's broken. Don't have any pieces left in there, that's good. Oh, interesting. Well, that probably happened when I ripped those tubes out of there, because this is the side that those tubes go into. I got some new tubes here. So the oil comes through the side of the transmission and through these tubes and into there. So, where's my O-rings? R27166. That's the magic number. That was cool. I need a different pick. I can't find my rolly chair. Well, you could see it, couldn't you? Why didn't you tell me something? Okay. I just find that the right angle picks are a little bit easier for poking these things into place. And I can't see nothing. It's too dark. Come on! Boop, got it! One side of the dowel is round, the other side's flat. Rounded side goes out. Hey! Well, just get in there. Well, what? Just go in the groove. Do you have to know rocket science to do this, or what? No, there's a groove there for you. Well, just go in the thing. Get in there. No, the other... Turkey! I got it! Same thing, round side to the outside. Alright, now I gotta do these two. I took them out already. There, one more. I got it! Woo! Alright. That's it. Now I gotta wait till Tuesday or Wednesday or something for that piston to come in. I can finish that clutch, bolt this back together. I got new springs to replace the old ones off. Springs are something that commonly breaks, so it's just good time to be replacing those two. Get them out of there. I think that's it. I've got to wait till I think like Wednesday now or something for the thing to come in. Coming out of the States. Alright, I went on a little parts run here again this morning and finally got the new piston. It is actually quite different. I'm seeing quite a bit of differences. This shoulder here is machined different. The webs inside, they are machined different. And the other thing I noticed is flipping these over. This is quite a bit different here. We got our dowel hole there, but then we have our check balls right inside the piston now, whereas the old one didn't have that. And the old one also has these threaded holes for pushing the piston out, whereas the new one does not have that. So those are the differences there. But what we really want to know is the depth of that seal. So if I measure this, come on, we get 0.185. And then if I measure the old one, I get 0.195. So that is not a lot. That's only 10 thou. Guess we'll see if it makes enough of a difference. Oops. So I'm noticing right away that this piston is already tighter. That other one drops in here so free and easy. I gotta pull this up a little more. So I definitely had to work that seal in there a little bit more than I have been. So that's a good start. So let's see if we give us some pressure if it'll move now. Oh, that's what we want. That's a little better. Let me go put the Belleville springs back on here so that we can have some proper pressure on it. And then we'll see if it'll seal. Okay, we're back. Got the Belleville washers in there, or springs, pushing down. And now we'll give her some pressure and see if it'll seal. Whoa! Okay. Well, that's a good sign. It wasn't blowing that plug out before. Alright, let me find that. Let's try this again here. I'll have to hold that down, I guess. Here we go. Hey, look at this. Almost a perfect seal. There you go. So 10 thou. It's hard to believe that 10 thou is enough to make that difference. That's only 5 thou on one side and 5 thou on the other. Unless there's something else wrong with this piston that I'm just not seeing, but this is what I'm used to with these ones with the rubber seals. They usually seal really good like this. Just a little bit of leakage, which is normal. But now I can pass this. Now I can put that in the tractor, and I can be confident that we're not gonna have an issue here. So, look at that. Now you are supposed to soak these clutches in oil before you install them. Here I am putting my oil on. And the thing is, I will put this clutch pack together with these all full of oil. And then, wow, look at how it just soaks it up, eh? I need to get more oil in my can. So as I was saying, you're supposed to soak these clutches in oil before you put them in. And this is a really good example why. Look at how it just drank that oil right up. So these need to be wet before they go in there. And normally I would get myself a bucket. I would fill it up with a bunch of clean hydraulic oil. I would put these in there, let them sit while I'm working on other stuff. In this case, I didn't do that because I had so much trouble with everything else, it just didn't make sense. But now I'm ready to put this together. And in this specific case, I'm going to assemble this clutch pack, bolt it back together, torque it. And then I got about a 40-minute drive back to the customer's house to put this all back in the tractor. So if I lube these all up with lots of oil and they sit in here for 40 minutes, that's going to be the same as if they were sitting in a pail of oil. So this is going to work just fine. So I had to go get my little pumper pail here. There we go. Give her a good bunch. Make sure there's lots here for it to soak in. Nice new clutch discs. And we're going to flip this over. And all that oil is going to just get trapped in between there. Then I can do the same thing to this side. Something like that can sit there and soak. And get out the next clutch plate. Put that oil all down a little bit there. Next disc. There's a lot of oil trapped in between there, squishing out everywhere now, so that should give it lots of oil to soak into there. And then I got a bunch of new springs to put in here. And then we have our reaction plate. I'll have to put the springs in after, I guess. Where's my, right there, like so. These have to be torqued. Forget what the torque spec is. I'm gonna have to look that up, I guess. Okay, I looked it up. 22 pounds of feet is what we set the Ford dyno to. There. Okay, that's done. Now I gotta get these things put back together. I made indexing marks with a punch before I took this apart, so I'm gonna put them back together exactly the way they came. And I got my clutches oiled up. Now, if I flip this one on top of that one, all my discs and everything are gonna fall out. So that's not gonna work. And if I flip this one on top of that one, then all my springs are gonna fall out. So that's not gonna work. So what I'm going to do is I've got this pretty thick assembly grease. Just going to put a bunch of that thick stuff on the end of the springs. And then when I put them in there, they're going to be sticky in the bottom. And they won't come out very easy. Once I get them all in like that, then I can flip that upside down and they won't go anywhere. Yeah, it looks like all my springs are in place. Dowels are lined up. So now I will go find my other bolts for this case and torque this up. I didn't realize this until now when I was cleaning these bolts up, but these bolts are all pretty damaged from running through there and then the springs. That is an M10 by 110, which my regular bolt supplier does not carry, either way shorter or way longer. Lucky for me, John Deere has these in stock. So I guess I will pick those up on my way to the customer's house and I will torque this when I get to his place. That was close. Well, it's a little late in the day to be heading out to do this, but we gotta get some cows fed, so that means that tractor has to go back together. So it's gonna be a late night tonight, and that is the joys of being a mobile breakdown guy. Okay, C1, C2 clutch is back on. Now we gotta try and marry this thing back together. Oh boy, I almost made it today. I actually ran into a really big problem where I put the oil manifold in the wrong way, and so I had to split the tractor again. It goes inside there with all those little pipes and stuff. That's the piece I was fighting with to get the O-rings in. Anyway, what we got left for tomorrow is I gotta finish putting the injectors back in, get that all back together, injector lines. I gotta clean up this wiring. This wiring is so bad. So I'm going to put new wire loom on there, and so I've got to put the batteries back in, fill the transmission up with oil, recharge the air conditioning, throw the hood back on, once we make sure there's no leaks or anything like that. Oh boy, almost there. Cost myself about, I don't know, 3.5 hours of extra work having to resplit it because I messed up on that manifold, but man, it's annoying. I think the Lord allows us to have those things happen sometimes to keep us humble, because otherwise you start thinking you're pretty good. MFWD drive shaft is back on the shield. We got a new yoke on this end up there. So yeah, there's not much left to do. All right, I'm going home. On my way back to the 4050 this morning. I did not get it finished yesterday. By the time I got the injectors cleaned up and back in, it was 6 o'clock and I was tired. And I took an emotional beating from having to split that tractor again because I made that mistake with that oil manifold. So I was done. I said I'm not going to get it running today anyway. I'm going home. So I went home so I could sulk a little bit. And now it's a new day. I'm going back to finish this job. Alright, it is finally time to bleed the injectors and get this thing running. That wiring up there doesn't look like much, but recovering that all and getting it all tucked away and in there nicely, that took a really long time. That's more work than it looks like. But anyway, I think I got everything done. Batteries are in. It's all ready to bleed the injectors. Fuel injectors are all loose there, the lines. So we'll get fuel to them and then this thing should bark off. Oh, we got fuel. That's a good sign. All right, let's see if we have enough battery in here left to get it started. Hey! It was seized. Now it runs again. Okay, it wasn't seized. It was just all in the clutch pack in the back, C1, C2. Well, I tested around it some more, got it all smoky in here, checked for leaks. I got no leaks, so that's good. Throw the battery covers on both sides. I got to put the floor mat back in there yet. Put the hood back on and hook the loader lines up right there into there. Boop. And it's smoky in here. Some clown is running a tractor in the shop like he's having some kind of parade. I don't know where this ether thing is. I didn't take that off of there. The line is just hanging. So I'm led to believe that it was still on here. I don't think he needs ether, he keeps it inside, but this thing needs to get plugged then. So I gotta figure that out yet, I guess. But other than that, that's it. It drives backwards, it starts, engine cranks over good. A little slow because the batteries are dead, but anyway. I'm gonna let him plumb his loader lines back in so they get put in the right spot and stuff. But other than that, I am finished what I came here to do. But in the cab, in the shift console, there is a little shifter ball, a little tie rod, looks like that, and the ball keeps popping off, and that's for the side to side. So he said, do you have time to change that right away? Yeah, I got time to do that. There we go, this thing is all done. I got the shift ball changed inside there, everything's back together, I've run it. I just went back and forth in the shop here a little bit. I'm kind of close to the door, I don't have a lot of room here, but everything's working good, don't have any leaks. So now he can take it out and run it. And in the meantime, got the charger on it to make sure the batteries get full. And I'm off to the next one.